Please welcome our fabulous panel. Megan Merrick, Director for Innovation and Brand Experience over at Freshly. Amanda Bailey, VP for Global Customer Strategy and Engagement at Hilton Hotel Group. And Cartin, Director of Customer Journeys at VW. But let's start, if we can, just with a question to perhaps set some context, and maybe it's useful to get some definitions, because we're here today to talk about personalization, but I know that this can mean different things to different people, different organizations, different industries, etc., depending on your business model, the types of customers that you have, etc. So what does personalization mean to you at your organization? Megan, perhaps I can kick things off with you, if that's okay.
Yes, absolutely. So I come from a CX background and I lead tech and innovation for our customer experience team. So for us at Freshly, personalization really means being able to know who our customers are, know their wants, needs, desires, preferences even, and to be able to act on that information. Especially from a CX point of view, personalization means being able to add value to a customer's experience with Freshly, even if they have a negative experience that requires them to have to reach out to us, especially because the stigma generally is, and even for myself, I don't reach out to companies' support teams for fun, just to chat with them. I'm usually reaching out if there's something going on that I need some assistance with. But at the same time, if I contact a company and they know who I am and they know my subscription and where I live and what I've ordered recently, that's going to make my experience a lot better with them.
Yeah, you expect them to be able to act on that information. Absolutely. Okay, many thanks. Let's maybe come next to you, Amanda, if we can. Same question, what does personalization mean for you guys over at Hilton?
Yeah, so similar, but said a little bit differently. For us, it really means, how do we deliver the right messages, the right products and brand experiences, customer experiences at the right moment in the customer journey. And more importantly, recognizing the customer for who they are in that moment and what they need. In travel and hospitality, I think we can all relate to this. We all travel for different reasons, whether that is business or leisure. And when you travel for business, you are one person on the road, efficient, trying to show up for yourself. When you travel for leisure, you are that same customer, but you have very different needs, bringing your family, going on excursions. So we really strive for personalization in knowing what you need or anticipating what you need based on your behaviors, to make sure that you can have the experience you desire and that our products and messages and offers and interactions are what you need to make the best of it. So that's how we think about personalization here.
Yeah, thanks. It's a really nuanced approach, I guess, because it suggests that the customer can be many different things, often at the same time. So how do you approach that level of personalization?
Yes, so we have, and we'll probably get to this a little bit more, but we have identified several different, expected customer journeys, and it's a constant iterative optimization process where we look at this. But we do try to really recognize the behaviors and the engagement indicators of a certain type of stay that customer may have, or a moment in time based on the content that they've interacted with or the brand that they're engaging with. So for us, we've kind of developed a set of personas and segments and ways to classify different customer groups so that we can get it mostly right, where it's not perfect, and it's not always one-to-one, but there's certainly ways, and we'll talk about them later, of how you can think about developing customer journeys so you can be more relevant, even if you can't get to that one-to-one level.
Yeah, excellent. Well, we'll definitely dig into that as we go further into this conversation. Cara, let's get some thoughts from you over at VW.
Well, as you might have guessed, we're in the car business, and most of the time your car isn't really something you think much about. It takes care of you and it basically makes your life better. But when that's not the case, it's not making your life better, it can be pretty overwhelming, when your car is brand new and you don't know how to do the basic things, or when something goes wrong, there can be a lot of questions, a lot of uncertainty, and a lot of anxiety. And at VW, we need to use personalization to do a better job with proactively reaching out to our customers to prevent these situations from happening in the first place, And if they do happen and the customer does reach out to us, whether that's us at the brand level or our dealers, we need to reward them with fast answers and easy fixes. And that's, of course, easier said than done because the situation is different for each individual based on, very similar to what Amanda was saying. It's different based on, what car they own, what model year it was, what trim level they have, what services were included with the vehicle, what services they purchased with the vehicle. It's just simply not going to cut it for us to serve up one size fits all content, even at just a model level. So we're currently building out an owner's app that really aims to anticipate questions and put easy to digest information at the customer's fingertips. And that's going to be fully powered by one-to-one personalization.
Yeah, and I guess this is becoming even more pertinent for organizations in your industry, Cara, especially as we move into this era of the connected vehicle, the sophistication of the in-car computers and the software that runs those systems. Personalization on that level, I guess, is something new that you're having to look at from scratch, I guess. Or not from scratch, you've been doing it for a long time, but it is certainly taken on a new level of scale.
Customers do have connected vehicles. We are able to deliver a lot of that personalization today, and I think it's working really well. But what we need to do is kind of take a few steps back and look at the other parts of the business where we've neglected to drive that personalization and do it there, because the connected vehicle space, it's already living in that digital world, and it's kind of easy to turn into that digital look at the rest of our business as well, because that's kind of where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah, absolutely, especially so in your industry. So let's maybe talk a little bit about, at what point in the journey, we've talked a lot about journeys over the past couple of days and the customer journey. At what point during that journey do you begin, or are you able to tailor the experience? I'll come to you first with that one, Amanda, if I can.
Sure. So I would answer this pretty simply and say, as soon as you have a uniquely identifiable piece of information, and that may be an IP address. So we know that you have been to our website before, or you've never been to our website before, and we don't know you as a person. We don't really know anything about you, but we know that this may be your first time here on our website. So what is it that we want to show a first-time visitor? Or what may we want to show somebody that we've seen has been there before? So for us, we really think about trying to identify any bit of insight and information or indicator that will allow us to customize the experience and make it more relevant. And so I talk a lot about kind of this range of relevance. And I think at what point it's at the very beginning, as soon as you can identify that unique piece of information. And I know Megan kind of thinks about this a lot in her role, but that's how we think about it. And whether that's in website, email, which is typically a lot of where our customer moments start, that is where it starts for us too.
Yeah, so you don't need to have vast swathes of information on a customer before you start personalizing. Just one piece of data will actually do it.
Yeah, and yes, absolutely. And I think personalization has, lots of different meanings. And there's, I think the point to make is it has range, though. It doesn't have to be a one-to-one experience to feel personalized. And so really, if you can remove that pressure of making it perfect, you can really make an experience much more personal by making it more relevant to that customer.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Amanda. Megan, well, let's maybe come to you and get some thoughts on how you're approaching this. Are you taking a similar tack? Is it as soon as you can that you're starting to personalize?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say ideally, we would love to be able to personalize the moment somebody thinks about Freshly. But more realistically, like Amanda said, it's that moment that we have something identifiable and that we can actually lean into, whether it's an ad that they see on social media or on TV and we want it to resonate with them. Whatever the case may be, we want that to extend all the way through their first order, second order, lifetime orders with us. And one of the ways that we've been really leaning into personalization lately is through AI and being able to, like Amanda said, gather anything that we can about a customer or a user, whether it's the first time they're on our site or it's a super loyal customer, and to be able to use that to tailor how we want them to experience our site. Even something simple like, oh, we know that you recently placed an order and it's coming out for delivery soon. Let me automatically populate the tracking information for you, so that way you can click on it and you don't have to go looking for it. As well as even just being able to know who's a new customer and to reach out to them proactively and welcome them to our service, recommend things that we feel may be relevant to them if they're nutrition conscious or they're really into our takeout items. Just being able to personalize what we want to offer them and the types of conversations we want them to have with our CX team.
Yeah, really interesting. I know we're going to touch upon AI as we go further into this. But just to pick up on the point you made about wanting to personalize, assuming that somebody thinks of Freshly, is it possible to kind of use personalization as a prospecting tool or for new customer acquisition? I know a lot of B2B organizations are doing this. Are some of those ideas translatable over to B2C as well?
You know what? I would say yes. I think there's definitely an opportunity to be able to understand how a customer or a user pre-sales gets to your website or gets to an ad, and then to be able to use that information strategically to advertise, even if it's just through AI on the website. The one piece that's always been hard for us is being able to connect the entire journey and make it unified, which I know we'll also talk about a little bit later, but just being able to take information and translate it across platforms and between teams. When you do it really well, you create a fantastic experience.
Yeah, thanks, Megan. Cara, I'll get some thoughts from you on this as well, if I can.
Yeah, we also start from the beginning of the relationship with, the little information we have, we'll use it. From marketing, looking for prospective buyers, we'll work with third-party digital data providers to be able to find the right people for specific messages. So we don't just kind of go out with like, hey, everyone gets the same message. We're targeting messaging to the right people from the right from the very beginning. And when customers do express interest in a brand, we don't just dump them into our marketing database and send them, follow-up emails. We make sure we collect what model they're interested in and then follow up specifically about that model, whether it's the Atlas or the Tiguan or our new ID4. So we make sure that kind of lead nurturing communication stream, if you will, is tailored to their interests. We're dipping our toes in the water with things like virtual showrooms where you can get a very personal one-to-one tour of a vehicle you're interested in. And last year, customers were actually able to place an order for our new all-electric SUV, the ID4, on our website and personalize things like choose the color they want, choose the features they want, the add-ons they want, and have it built in our factory and delivered to the dealer near them.
Yeah, some really interesting ideas. So I think what all of you have touched upon here is the value of data and leveraging data at every opportunity. So how are you leveraging customer data to inform those customer interactions using behavioral data? Amanda, I think you mentioned this, to learn how the customer wants to engage with your organization. Let's maybe come to you first.
Sure. So I'll try to break it down in the ways that we think about it. First and foremost, it's important to know who your customers are and align your organization and your go-to-market strategies or your product strategies in a meaningful way. And I like to always kind of put a check, is this categorization, segmentation, grouping actionable? Because that will allow you to really then articulate what is the relationship that you want to create with these customers. And by identifying that relationship, understanding the phases of that relationship, that will help you to understand what outcomes that you are driving towards to achieve your business objectives. So, I think at the beginning we talked about how to use personalization to be more customer centric. Well, we start with the customer, we understand the relationship we want to create, and that helps us determine, what do we need to do? What outcomes do we need to get them to do? What behaviors do we need to drive to reach our business objectives? From there, really thinking about the data that actually matters. So what are those engagement indicators that will tell you something about what that customer is about to do? We think a lot about that. rather than, I think behavioral data and the way traditionally a lot of companies use it, and this is great, by the way, is looking at past behavior and kind of trying to customize an experience and personalize an experience based on what customers did in the past. Well, that works up into a certain point. But what is now really what we're focused on is what are the indicators of engagement, indicators of conversion, indicators of that next action that you can really design, smart marketing strategies around, touch points around, so that you can know that a customer has just opened an email, browsed your website, interacted in your content, and now they're going to go make a booking. So what are the things that you can do to accelerate that behavior, the engagement behavior that gets to the conversion. And then, of course, testing, learning, and optimizing always. In this world of a more customer-centric, digitally enabled, connected platform, this is really important because every customer is different in different moments, and their behaviors change, their interactions change. So it's important to think about, just get really simple about the customer, the experience you want to create, the outcomes you're driving towards, and then how you monitor and optimize along the way.
Yes, really interesting ideas. Cara, I'll come to you next if we can, and ask that similar question, and perhaps ask you to build upon it by considering what it takes to get your data in order to be able to take advantage of it, to leverage it. Because one of the things that we've already been talking about over the last couple of days is this idea of data silos and actually joining up the dots between these different pools of data. So how are you approaching that over at VW?
Yeah, I mean, it's something we're actively working on. We haven't accomplished it yet, but it's something we're working on right now and hope to deliver against for our customers next year. Basically, we started with, our vast amount of data from, our contacts to our customer care team. We have a lot of survey data from our, purchase experiences, from our servicing experiences, and we analyze that to really understand what are the key things that our customers are not getting from us, not hearing from us, that we want to deliver against. So we now know what they want to get from us, and we have all the information, but it is really hard to get at, even for our customer care team when someone calls into them, and it's certainly harder for our dealers. So, we do have that challenge that you mentioned of all these legacy systems. The data is literally all over the place. So we're currently working to centrally organize and store the key data elements that will drive that meaningful personalization moving forward, and proactively answer questions before they're even asked. So we're working to centrally organize those key data elements and then set up the infrastructure to make them readily available to the customer across multiple channels whenever they reach out to us, whether that's on the website, calling our care team, the dealer, making, letting them get the information where they want it, when they want it. We are kind of, the approach that we're taking that I'm hopeful will make us successful is that we're starting with a fairly small set of data based on very specific use cases for personalization, versus trying to get all data in one place and trying to accomplish too many use cases. I think unless you put a ton of IT resources into an effort like that, you can end up doing a lot of work without delivering much value to the customer. So rather than trying to accomplish big data, we're simply planting the seeds of personalization. So that's our approach. I hope it will be successful, and really look forward to talking more about it with you next year.
Yeah, I hope so too, Cara. So, I mean, really important not to boil the ocean here. I guess that's the key takeaway. Megan, let's maybe come to you, get some thoughts from you on this. How are you approaching it?
So one of the things I really want to lean into that, Amanda, you said was great, was not making decisions based off of the past and doing it based off of what's happening presently in the moment and the actions that customers and users are taking today. And from a CX perspective, one of the big things that we've been working on is our feedback loop and developing a really strong voice of the customer program to be able to deliver data behavioral data and also just insights on the actual product to the rest of the teams internally. And even something as simple as how we deliver a CSAT survey or an NPS survey. If a customer chooses to contact us, say via Facebook Messenger, we want to deliver that last leg of the mile via Facebook Messenger. All of a sudden, if I'm chatting over here and then I get an email 5 hours later, that's going to be a confusing experience and it's not going to feel connected, as if I am chatting via Facebook Messenger. An hour after my conversation, I get that follow-up requesting my feedback. That feels very personal because you remembered where I contacted you. You might even remember what I contacted you about, and you can use that data strategically as well. But by forcing customers to channel hop, you're creating a siloed experience where it feels disconnected, but also customers may not be as willing to fill out those surveys or to provide their feedback because you're causing a bit of friction and making them move across channels. Suppose a similar situation would be if I try to live chat and then you tell me I have to call, or if I email and then you tell me I have to call. All of a sudden you're pushing people around instead of using the actual data you have in front of you, where a customer wants to contact you via this channel, offer the support through it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's maybe dig into how you're achieving that a little bit more. You mentioned earlier about this idea of using AI and technology to help do a lot of the heavy lifting to actually process a lot of that information. So maybe talk us through your journey there. What are you doing in that regard?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like AI has been my entire existence recently, which is super fun and I love working on it. And it's amazing if you do it right. And one of the things that we're really working on is to be able to provide a better experience for users overall through AI, especially because there is a big stigma around bots and telephony bots, chat bots, whatever the case may be, that bots just do not deliver the same level of experience that your customers are expecting from an agent. And so our big project right now is working with our engineering team to be able to surface customer data through our AI systems the moment somebody visits our site. So if you are logged in, we will know who you are, where you live, when your next package is coming, when your last package came, what you like to eat, all of your preferences. If you are not a user, then we know where you came from. Do you have a discount code? Is that how you made your way to our site? Have we been emailing you? Are you somebody that we're targeting? And then we can tailor the AI experience for that customer. So even something simple like having proactive intros on our website where little text bubbles are popping up. Like I mentioned before with delivery information, if we know your package is coming today, we can strategically pop up, are you looking for your package? Click me for tracking information, or whatever the case may be. And a customer can immediately go down that road with the bot without having to start a live chat and say, I'm looking for my tracking information. And potentially, unfortunately, sometimes you get stuck in this purgatory loop with bots. So ultimately, we want to use AI to bring value to our customers and to make sure that the value we're bringing is beyond what our agents could do. And the reason that it's beyond is because our agents don't know everyone who's visiting our site and is not quick enough to be able to put all the pieces together and understand, oh, this is what Megan is trying to talk to us about. Let me proactively chat her before she can chat me.
Yeah, it's a really interesting approach. And I guess one of the highlights there, or the takeaways, is that AI doesn't necessarily mean bots or doesn't necessarily mean chatbots. Actually, a lot of that AI work takes place on the back end.
Yeah, absolutely. And even for us, one of the other big pieces is using AI to support our agents and to give our agents valuable information on our customers, but also valuable information on how to approach a chat. So even something like AI that says, this is who you're talking to. The sentiment of this conversation thus far is neutral. Here's what you can do to make it better and improve the CSAT score. And being able to pull all of those pieces together it's a heavy load. And so we're sort of doing it in tiny little pieces and putting the puzzle together over time. But definitely it's on the back end more than the front end.
Yeah, thanks, Megan. Cara, let's come to you with this. How are you using AI and these emerging technologies to both enhance and augment the experience for the customer?
Well, we've been using predictive modeling for a while to help us understand who to reach out to with certain messages and which customers might need a little extra attention. These are in kind of fairly narrow use cases. So I would say, even though we've been doing that for quite a few years already, we still are just getting started with predictive analytics. We need to take the models that we do have and apply them across more channels, and expand the number of models that we're using. We are currently looking at using AI to power what we're calling, as a general term, self-service information, which sounds like we're trying to kind of get away from the high-touch, personal, actual live contact with our customers. That's not at all the case. We love talking to our customers, but the reality is that today, we're really making our customers work unnecessarily hard to get the information they're looking for. And most of the time, they don't really want to be picking up the phone and calling us. They'd rather have found the information easily on their own. And we're talking about even as early as shopping for a vehicle, but certainly, after ownership, this is the case. So we're looking at AI actively now, to deliver that information to them far more efficiently, and not just when they ask for it, but even proactively. I love that pop-up bubble that Megan talked about, looking for your delivery. That's, exactly the type of thing we're looking to do, so that, even as they're browsing our website, or if they're using our owner's mobile app, that we are anticipating what that question might be and serving up that information there. So I really do think it's going to be a game changer, and can't wait to get it implemented.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Cara. Best of luck with those experiments. Let's maybe come to you, Amanda, if we can, get some thoughts from you. How are you using AI to augment the experience? I think this is the key thing that both Megan and Cara have touched upon here. This is an augmentation, and actually it shouldn't feel like it's intrusive or getting in the way. It should just be a natural, enabler of that experience.
Yeah. So we, similar to Kara, have been doing using a lot of predictive models in our marketing for several years. I think that where we are in this journey is, how do you infuse it in the moment? And so you can imagine in hospitality, a traditionally very, people to people serving people business. That's what we are in. This is a very big transition for our organization, and the place that we do this best right now, and best in kind of a fraction of we're starting, is within our mobile app. So if you are a Hilton Honors member, you have our Hilton Honors app, there are things that we do know about you as you arrive on property, the things like how you customize your preferences, and we're able to anticipate your needs in a more meaningful way. And we have different elements of the app, whether that's in our luxury properties, our digital concierge, or it's actually within our Hilton Suggest model, where we're kind of giving you recommendations based on what we know that you are looking for in your search. But we are very much scratching the surface. Just to make a little bit of a joke, AI to us means all-inclusive, our all-inclusive properties and hotels that you go to. And now, thinking from a customer perspective about AI, and how it can really drive a better, more personalized experience is something we're just getting started on. And really, it's about, to Megan's point, like, how do you inform our call agents and our call center, our front desk people that are serving our clients and customers as they come in the door, and all of the different folks that truly do make that hospitable personal interaction. How can they make that better? And that's where we're focusing our attention in AI.
Thanks so much for sharing your thoughts here this morning. It was lovely chatting to you all. Thanks to Megan, Amanda, and Cara.
Thank you.
Take care all.